Hello, hello, hello. Here we are on step 3 of the Realign and Find Your Flow challenge. I tell you, these weeks, it's like, you probably don't know where I live, but it's quite a small apartment, so we're going to be renovating upstairs eventually, but this place that I'm in right now is quite small. Like, the kids are literally just there. Hey Kim, how are you? And they've only just gone to bed, so I'm kind of want to be loud and shouty, but I've also got to kind of feel like I've got a whisper. Anyway, it's one of those things that I'm working on dealing with right now, because these are going to become a regular feature. I really love doing these lives. I love having the interaction with you guys, getting the questions and seeing what you guys struggle with and being able to help you to work through things. So we're going to be doing more of these, and then of course into the coaching program they have regular lives in there. Anyway, hey babe, back at you. We're gonna get in on to this evening, so as always, say hello as you're coming on in, and I'd also like to know if you just chuck into the comments if you have. I've talked about this. Hey, it is a practice. It's something that you're gonna start repeating on a daily basis. So have you done it today? Did you go in and do the visualization? Did you go and do the steps that we walked through yesterday on the journaling of pulling that dream life into the reality, into today? If you did, let me know in the comments. I'll come back to them later, but I'm going to continue on because it's often when we get to this point, so it's great. We can start, we can do the dream life work and it feels incredible and we're all excited and hyped up, and then we're doing our journaling and we set off on our day and it's amazing. And a couple of weeks in, hey Catherine, you have these moments and you just think, who am I to dream this big? I'm not good enough to do this. And this self-doubt, the fears, the blocks, the barriers creep in, and it is completely normal. Hey Rebecca. And I think this is something that we get in a bit of a tiz about it, that we think, I don't want to have this idea that everything has to be hard and struggle and grind, but there is definite points for anybody who's ever had anything. There's going to be some struggle, there's going to be some barriers. And I always say to people, it is completely the universe is putting a test on you. It's like, how much do you want it? If you think about some of the most successful people, famous people, I always refer to people like Richard Branson or Oprah. If you listen to Oprah's story and realise the hardship that she went through to get to where she is, where she's one of the richest women in the world, the amount of things that she went through. And it's not about successful people never having blocks, fears, barriers. It's just about their ability to not give up and to be able to overcome. And so that's what we're going to be talking on today. This is work that I've had to do a lot of myself, especially moving to France. My God, I think it's one of the hardest things that we've ever done. There's so much just has gone completely tits up along the way of us moving here and living here, and there's still living in France is freaking hard, especially when you don't speak French so good. Something continually working on. But there's so many times when you could have just packed up and gone back home, even moving here and the sale of my old business, when all of the shit hit the fan with that. There's been so many times where you just think, oh, why me? But the point is that we get to use each and every experience as an opportunity to learn, and that's what it really is. Every block and barrier is an opportunity for you to learn and grow. Kim did the visualization again this morning and downloaded the journal pages. Awesome. So we want to have a look at, quite often, very often, our outside results are a reflection of our internal beliefs. And I see this come up so often. It's something that I'm continually working on myself. We have these deep, almost subconscious thoughts, beliefs that lie beyond the surface that we're not always completely aware of. And you can hear them referred to as self-limiting beliefs. And whilst we still have this underlying belief that's going along beyond the surface, we can go all out and be like, hey, I'm going to go and lose the weight, or I'm going to go and get the new job, or I'm going to get the boyfriend, or whatever it was that was the goal vision. Yet if we don't, beneath the surface, feel worthy, feel enough, feel as though we are able to achieve that in our life, your subconscious is like a 4-year-old child. it always wants to prove itself right. So this is where our sabotaging behaviours come in. This is where we have these things, whether it is eating patterns and behaviours. With me in work, it's always been procrastination has been such a huge one. Like, I know that I've got so much I want to do and I've got all these big ideas, but why don't I just go and clean the house? I don't even like cleaning. All of these things, sabotaging behaviours, because that is your subconscious wanting you to prove yourself right, that you don't really believe that you can have the things that you said that you wanted in your dream life. So I'm going to give you some steps and tools today to help you work through that. So if you have a pen and paper handy, that would be a pen and paper handy to write down some notes. If you've already got your journals, it's a great journal prompt for you again today. Because you see, our beliefs are shaped from a very young age. They are shaped by our parents, they are shaped by our experiences, they are shaped by society. So if you just think about some of the things that you were told as a child, whether it was with regards to food, that you've got to eat everything on your plate, and then you find yourself in adult life, you've always got to eat everything up because you were told that there's starving children in the world, and then that leads into weight issues. If you were told by your parents that money doesn't grow on trees and that you've always got to keep it all within, or a great one that is always put out, like I was watching something recently. Oh, it was that series with Renee Zellweger in What If. Have you watched that? I always think it's funny when you watch like movies or series or whatever, when women are the rich billionaires, they're always bitches and evil, aren't they? They are always the worst. Or on a movie, it's like the rich billionaire, they're always really bad person. And it's these type of limiting beliefs that we end up buying into, that money makes us bad. There's so many different things that we are influenced by, whether we watch the news and you just think, oh my god, the world's a big scary awful place. And don't get me wrong, it's not ignoring the fact that there's terrible things going on in the world, there is, but you don't hear about the families who wake up every day and live lovely, amazing, happy lives, because it's not newsworthy. Yet there is so much goodness happening in the world that we don't always tap into that, and that can really affect our beliefs that we have. And you see, our beliefs that we have then lead into the actions that we take. So if you think of it as a cycle, we have this belief. It then leads us to make a specific action, which then leads around to a specific result. So if we've got this negative self-limiting belief that, let's use a weight loss example. So I'm big boned, it's hard for me to lose weight. So the action then becomes, oh well, why even bother? Because it's hard for me to lose weight, so why bother? The result is that you end up gaining more weight, and that feeds back into that self-limiting belief. So it's a circle that we get stuck in, and it is to do with any, whatever, I don't want to say excuse, but I'm going to say whatever excuses. So if we think about that dream life, that vision, that goal, that thing that you're striving for, what is the reason that you don't already have it? That can be linked to your self-limiting beliefs. So think about what that is for you. Maybe make a note of that thing of, well, let's talk on, when we did the dream life, we created lots of different goals, different visions, different ideas of the things that we want. Usually there's one that comes more of a priority for you. For me, it's usually linked around my body goals and then my career goals. So think about the one this evening for the purpose of this evening session, as we're going to pull into it. And you can repeat this with all the different ones that you've got, because the more that you release these blocks, the more success and the more you'll be able to move towards these goals. Oh, lots of people coming on tonight. I hope you've already watched the first two. So yeah, I like to use the analogy, this belief, action, result cycle, the analogy of snowboarding. Have you ever been snowboarding? Let me know in the comments whether you have or not. When learning to snowboard, this is my personal experience, it is freaking hard. That was my belief. And yeah, well, I could tell you that it's hard, and that would then lead into your belief that, oh, snowboarding, it's going to be hard. And it's so funny that we'd have people, when we had the chalet, people would come on holiday and they'd be like, oh, it's my first time and I'm going to try snowboarding, but I know I'm going to be rubbish at it. So we go in with this thought or this idea that there's certain, love snowboarding, yay, that there's going to be a certain outcome, and that massively influences your confidence. So when you're on the slopes, you'd be like, oh no, I'm not going to be very good at, oh no, I'm not a sporty person, oh no. And what happens? You end up on your arse. That then links back into your self-limiting belief. Oh, well, I'm just not very good at snowboarding. Truth is, most people are not good at stuff when they first start doing something. I definitely was not very good at snowboarding. I always say it took me about 5 or 6 years. It wasn't 5 or 6 years, it was 1 week over those 5 or 6 years. Anyway, it took me a really long time. Took my husband snowboarding for the first time. He just, one of those annoying people that just went off down the hill. I taught you everything, you know, whatever. I took you snowboarding for the first. Anyway, my point is, I was very determined on that. I was like, no, I am a sporty person and I can do anything I put my mind to. And the point is that I didn't give up. My arse was hurting, my wrists were hurting. I cried a lot and went back to skiing because I could skied since I was a kid. And well, it's easy to earn anything when you're a kid. But the point is, I had this fulfilling belief. So that was a positive belief that I was a sporty person and that if I continued and I persevered with it, that I would overcome it. The result, well, I'm freaking pro snowboarder now. Obviously, really not, but you know, I can snowboard and I freaking love it. So the point is, it's whatever you're telling yourself on an internal, subconscious level related to your past experiences, or maybe something that somebody has told you, is going to influence your actions and your results. So the purpose of breaking this down and going inside with it and actually bringing these subconscious or unconscious thoughts, beliefs into our conscious awareness, because when we bring them up into the forefront of our mind, we then give ourselves the power to make a choice of whether we're going to hold on and keep on believing in this thing that is limiting us and holding us back, or whether we're going to choose to say, no, fuck this shit, we're going to have something different. And that is the power of doing and breaking in through this. So I'm going to give you some questions to walk through. So I want you to think about, like I say, if you've not done videos 1 and 2, this is not going to make a whole load of sense. You need to watch videos 1 and 2 before you come on into this one. So if you haven't, go to Colsey-Nicholls.com/realign and you'll get emails with all the previous ones, so that when you come to this one, it's going to make more sense and it's going to be more helpful to you. So for you guys that have been here since the beginning, we've created this vision, we've got this idea, we've got these goals that we want to pull into our life, to attract into our lives. I want you to pick the one that feels like the biggest priority for you, that's going to have the biggest impact on your life right now. And then once you've got that, so write it down, what it is, clarity on it, what the vision is, what the goal is, what is it that you're desiring to have in your life. Then step number 2, you're going to ask yourself, and you can maybe just write down each of the steps and you can come back to this, or I always like people to do it as we're going along, because then I know that you're doing it. What is the current block? What is stopping you? What is the excuse? What is the reason that you have that you don't already have that thing in your life? So write that down. What's currently blocking or stopping you? Why don't you have it in your life? What's the excuse? Because without this awareness, we can't change it. When we bring in the awareness, we give ourselves the power to change it and to create something different. I think the child was just shushing me. So, and you can write down as many different excuses as you want. If you've got a few different ones to work with, then that's good. Write them all down. Now, step number 3 is when we look at those excuses or reasons, we get to ask ourselves which ones are real versus which ones are made up, or just a story that we have decided to believe, because there's a real difference. So one of the ones I'll give you an example to help with that is one for me, a personal block has always been time. Like, I want to build my business up, but I've got a family, I've got kids, we were moving to France, doing a renovation and So lack of time has been a huge excuse for me. So a real excuse or valid reason would be, I have limited time, versus a made up one would be, oh, I don't have any time at all, no time at all. That's simply not true. Yeah, that's just something that I've made up, I'm choosing to believe, I'm choosing to tell myself. Does that make sense if you're all following here? So which is a real excuse versus which one is made up? So then we're going to break that down into two parts. So for the real ones, we get to look at that, and instead of just seeing it as a problem or a block or a barrier, you're now going to say, okay, I'm now going to become the problem solver on this. So what is the solution to this problem? So if I go in with my real excuse is I don't have very much time. So what would be the solution to this problem? Because again, when we come into a place of looking for solutions, we take ourselves away from being the victim of like, oh, I don't have much time, it's so hard for me, to saying, no, I am going to take control of my time. I can plan out my week, which is why a huge reason why I created the Get Your Shit Together Life Planner. There's all these people coming on that are Gavin's friends because they know that he's watching this video. Lost my train of thought. Yeah, so that's why I created the planner, because this was an excuse for me. Like, I don't have enough time. So I created a planner where I could block out my time, write in. I'll come back to that question. Let me just continue on with this. So to block in my time. So to use the excuse if I don't have very much time is like, okay, so if I don't have a lot of time, how can I be more effective with the time that I do have? I can plan, I can schedule, I can be very clear and focused with the time that I've got. Does that make sense? So we then become the problem solver. So we're flipping the script and turning that negative of I can't do this because to like, okay, so what can I do to overcome this? So we're looking at searching for solutions. Let me just come back to Kim's question. What if you have literally no idea whatsoever why you don't have what you really want? I would say that you will do. And actually, this is the real power of coaching, because it gets this with so many people all the time. But when you start to ask yourself more questions around the goal and why it is that you don't have it, and you allow yourself to dig deeper into it, the answers from that will come. And that is the power of working with a coach or having someone to support you through this. So I would say to you to use your journal when it comes. I know you're ordering one. To start to ask yourself the question is, why don't you have that thing? Is it a fear? Is it a lack of self-belief? There could be so many different things without knowing the specifics. And Kim, you can message me a bit more directly, or we can carry on this conversation over in the private group afterwards, so I can help you dig into this a little bit more. Because whilst we're telling ourselves that we don't know what the answer is, again, we're taking it from being outside of ourselves. You do know what the answer is, you've just not got there yet. And that's kind of trying, not without knowing specific details of helping you to dig into that. I can't give you the answer. So it is about you starting to ask better questions, more depth, and allowing yourself to open up. Often I've done things when I'm like, feel a bit undecided about something or unsure. And that is where the power of meditation comes in. There's been so many times when I've meditated on something and something from the past has just like popped up in my head from out of nowhere. It always amazes me, the power of meditation and this internal work. And it does take that bit of time to allow your body to relax. There's so often that things can crop up from our past, because when I talked earlier about our beliefs systems that we have, many of those are shaped like from years and years ago. When I've been doing this work, the most random stuff has come up for me. Like there was this time that I hadn't even really thought about, but there was this time that I'd gone ice skating with I just didn't go with any friends, and it just turned up, and then someone called me a loner, and then it was all this thing. I'm like, oh my God, where did that even come from? Like, I hadn't even thought about it, but it's obviously something that's been laid down for a really long period of time that has stuck with me, that only came to the surface when I started to do this internal work. Like I said, what's going on internally is always the reflection of your external results, and which is why most people go through life like, struggling, feeling as though we're trying and doing something and not getting anywhere. It's because we haven't delved deep enough into it to be able to uncover what's really going on. So yeah, Kim, I'll share this video into the Happiness, Health and Adventure group because it is a little bit more private in there. And if you want to expand on that, I can maybe try and help you dig into that a little bit further. Okay, so we were looking at the real problems, the ones that is actually true, that is true for my life. You then have to become this problem solver. We then have the excuses or reasons that are what we've fabricated in our mind. Over time they've got more elaborate and bigger, and we've talked about this of how writing things down allows you to be more practical. It makes you a little bit more subjective as you look at your problems and the things that are going on for you. So the beliefs now that are made up in your head, these are the ones that we now get to choose. How can we gather evidence to disprove it? So in my example about time, so my real reason was I have very limited time. My made up excuse was, I have no time at all, I'm just so busy. So looking for evidence for the contrary. Like for me personally, I'm like, right, well, I probably spent maybe a little bit longer on social media than I should have done, and that's time wasted. I procrastinated a lot, that wasted a lot of time. It's looking for evidence to disprove that belief, which is actually a belief that's made up for us anyway. So we're finding, I've just said that, gathering evidence to find truth, to disprove it, and then we can look at flipping it and turning it around. And this is where it comes back to almost like our mantras that we talked about yesterday. So I can start to say to myself, and I do say to myself often, is I have all the time that I need when I use it effectively, and I'm productive with the time that I do have. It's about you being able to shift it. And again, if you're writing this stuff down, and you're writing these empowering beliefs down that are guiding you and firing you up to take action, if you're writing them down on a daily basis, what we're starting to do is to rewire what's going on in the brain. So we've gone from all these negative beliefs and all these reasons and excuses of why we can't do something, now starting to shift the way that we're thinking, so that we're constantly looking at, okay, well, what can I do? And this is you constantly empowering yourself to go and achieve the things that you want. So we're taking it away, the problems, becoming the problem solver, and then instilling these new beliefs. And a lot of the time, people can give mantras or positive affirmations, and if you don't believe in them and connect with them, then that can be really tough, because this is all about reshaping your beliefs. You've got to give yourself a statement that you can believe in the here and now. So if I was going to say, rather than saying, I have all the time in the world, which is not true, I say I've got all the time that I need to do the things that I need to get done effectively. If any of you have any that are in your head that you're struggling with to turn around at all, post them in the comments, and we can always work through any as we're going along. Checking on the time, doing all right, got about 7 minutes left. I nearly spat my tea back out then. I'm not going to drink tea whilst I'm doing this. So that would be the steps that we go on this. So just to recap on that. So we've got clear about the vision and the goal. We've picked, for the purpose of this video, of this training, one priority one. But I definitely suggest that you would go through this with the different goals and the different areas, and look for an excuse, a reason, a block, a barrier that's been coming up for you repeatedly, something that comes up time and time again, and go through these questions for each of them. So what is currently blocking or stopping you? Why don't you already have it in your life? What is the excuse? So that is after we've got clarity on the goal. Number 2, what's blocking you or stopping you? Next step is which reasons, excuses are the real ones versus which are the made up ones. So then there's an action step for the real versus made up. So for the real ones, you become the solution solver. I was just checking that made sense. It made sense in my head. You're looking at becoming the person who is the problem solver. Like, okay, so if this is the problem, how do we overcome this? What is the solution to this? Because there is a solution to every single problem. And then flipping that around and looking at, okay, well, if this is the problem, what do I get to overcome it? What do I have to learn? How do I have to develop myself? And that is what self-development and self-grow is. Instead of looking at something and saying, whoa, well, you know, I just don't have enough time. This is just not possible for me in my life. You're like, no, okay, so I don't have as much time. What can I still make happen? Then we look at the ones that are made up, so the ones that are fabricated and elaborated and probably not even really true. So another one for me that comes up is, oh, well, I'm not good enough for that, which is just complete BS. We are all good enough to do absolutely anything we want, but that self-limiting belief that we choose to buy into is what keeps you in, I say comfort zone, but we know comfort zones aren't always that comfortable because they just make you feel like crap. But it's almost like a safety mechanism to keep you from, you know, the fear is there. It's a valid feeling and it's not something that's ever going to go away. This is something that I talk a lot within my coaching groups. It's like, oh, well, how do I get away, you know, how do I overcome the fear of this? And the thing is, it's not about overcoming the fear, it's about embracing the fear, feeling it, accepting it and saying, okay, we're going to go and dance with this today, and being able to feel fearful about things and be able to do it anyway, because that's what breeds confidence with you, for being able to put yourself out there, to challenge yourself, to be open, to be vulnerable, to, you know, really allow yourself to continue to level up when you're facing your fears, because that's when you start to feel like you're achieving your goals. And again, it comes back to all of this energetics. When we feel that we're on form and we're achieving things, then it comes into this snowball effect that we start to achieve even more. So our self-limiting beliefs often are just made up because they are a mechanism to help to keep us safe. It's what our brain thinks is safe, but the brain doesn't always know what it's about. Hope you're hearing me on this. Cool. And then so with those made up ones, we can recognize, we're bringing them into our awareness. We're saying with our logical brain, okay, this is ridiculous, this is not true for me anymore now. And this is when we trace it back to childhood. You know, sometimes we've developed these fears or thoughts because it's a pattern or a behavior that served us in the past, often when we've been a child. One for me is like, I talk about this a lot. I'm really naturally quite a shy person, and it's taken me a lot to be able to build up to even doing things like this. But a lot of that shyness and not feeling good enough comes very much back from, you know, if you've ever been a kid at school and you put your hand up and you answer a question and like, no, that question's not right. Do you not know what you're talking about? Are you stupid? I don't think the teachers were ever that harsh, but that was kind of the feeling that you take on board inside. So on board, that I continue to take that through my adult life is like, okay, well, I just won't speak up then because I was made a fool. I was embarrassed that I didn't know the answer. I felt stupid. I felt not good enough. And that is the type of behaviours that we can bring through with us into adulthood. And again, that takes a little bit work to delve back to dig that stuff out. It's not something that comes like right off the top of your head. And this is why I always love that power of putting pen to paper, because the more that you do this work, the more that you delve in deeper to that. So when we recognise that these beliefs like, well, I'm not that child anymore, and I do know a lot of stuff, and I've been working a lot on this, so I get to speak up, and that's how I empower myself to remind myself I am enough and I can do this. And I have to big myself, I was even psyching myself up even before I come on a call, on a live session, to rewrite what you now choose to believe moving forward. Flip those limiting beliefs and turn them into empowering beliefs, empowering statements. And then when you find that turnaround, try and get like 3 to 5 of those, write them down, what you're now choosing to believe to help you to live into your best life. And I've timed it well tonight, timed it well. Have you got any more questions before we sign out? quite a deep one and quite a lot to get into on this one. And this is, again, it's tip of the iceberg stuff. There's, you know, I'm only really giving you so much. This is really forms the basis of what I do within my coaching programs. If you are like, right, I need to dig into this more, this is what we do within the 90-day program. It's a group program. It is full of other amazing like-minded women who get it, who like feel the struggle, who want to have the dreams, goals and desires, but you know, we all need somewhere to express, to spout. We all need someone to help support and dig in that little bit deeper. And this is what this community is about. And it is, honestly, it is the most incredible group of women. And I just freaking love it. Anyway, if you want to come in, people just coming on now. We're just about to sign out. You have to go back to the beginning. It starts soon. Drop me a message. In fact, I'll put the link in the description of this so you can go and check out the full details. We're starting on the 9th of the 9th, 19. There's got to be some numerology awesomeness within that start date. 9th of the 9th, 19. It's going to be good stuff. Anyway, we're starting then. Powerful work. This is just the beginning of it. I hope that you have got some real value from doing this. And the purpose of this was to help you be like, right, okay, I'm feeling focused. I know what I want. I'm going to go for it. To have a kick-ass for September, towards the end of the year, you know, thinking about those New Year goals where you started out at the beginning of the year. Now is the time to embrace it, to go and get it. And I would love to be able to support you on that journey even further. So if you're feeling fired up and you want a little bit more, come and join us. It is the most amazing program. One of my members, she calls it, it's like having a gym membership for your brain, and it absolutely is. I'm going to be sharing some more testimonials and other people's experiences as well. And next week I'm going to be doing an interview with Sue, who is my support coach in the group. So there's not just me, there's Sue as well. She is also a mind-body coach. She's been through my program. She loves it, made changes to her life, and she's now teaching it to other people as well as supporting the guys in the group. So there's a real wealth of support in there. There's women who've been in it for a really long time, and it's just really powerful work, and I'm excited to share it with more of you guys. But even if you've just come in for the 3 sessions, if you've got value, please do leave some hearts on this video, share it with your friends. If you have just catching on the back end, you're going to want to go back to the beginning, because this was a 3-part series. As I said, I'm going to be doing more lives on this page, so you're going to be seeing a lot more of me. And also in the group, and we've just really, there's people messaging me, signing up, getting ready to go. We're all getting fired up, and I would love for you to be there. Like I say, I will put the link in this, or if you want to drop me a message if you've got questions about it, see if it's a good fit for you, then I would love to hear from you. But thank you so much for being here over these last 3 nights, and most of all, keep on freaking doing this. And that is the important part, whether you take anything away from it at all, to just the 2 practices that we've done on the last 2 nights. The first one, keep repeating doing that. Notice what comes up for you. Get pen onto paper and keep on practicing this work. The more you do it, the more powerful it comes. And keep on tuning into the page, because there's lots more hints, tips and help along the way. So I'm signing out. Have an awesome rest of your evening. Love you lots.